My name is Mark Ehrlichs, and if y'all don't know it, um, the first things I want to talk about and mention is that throughout our histories in this time, the ones before us initiated prayer in order to eliminate the burden of life's experiences. Please understand that. And even in developing our living body is through the experience of repetition. This repeated experience creates memory, and the memory is stored within us. This initiates prayer. So we've learned to pray mostly and usually when we're in need. God, in my perspective, is all conscious within itself. And if God were external, otherwise, our prayers would not be able to be answered or even reach him or her or it. We're not as separate from God as we think. But still, we believe we are separate from the creative consciousness, the greater consciousness. Even as we often tend to think that we're one with it, we still are, in many respects are separate from it, regardless of what we believe or think. And that's our own doing. It's almost like we've lost the understanding of the union in it. From early Christians, I guess around the time of Constantine, which is around 312 or 330 or something like that, 333, when Constantine, he said, basically, don't bother the great creator, because they were forming the church then, and they wanted you to come to the church for the understandings, for the answers, for the healing, for everything, for the realization. And the pattern today continues, that we should only go to a priest or a bishop or other godly mediators. Most of our prayers are born from desire. Prayer is usually driven by emotion and fear. Ideally, our prayer's foundation is based upon the trust and the love of our source. And this is also the way that the mystic, to whichever deity or God we choose, goes. This is more of a mystical understanding, is learning to trust and love our source. Love, wealth, power, and fame are the greatest of our separations. But they're not bad. They're just expressions for here on earth and our survival. And they also represent something within us that needs to develop. And so they're just expressions. And we're given these ways to experience them and to learn and to grow and to find out our oneness, our connection to the divine within. Exaltation and adoration lifts our spirit to the Creator. When we can rise within ourselves through our repetition in developing prayer, there's a linking of the mind to the self within. There's a linking of the mind to the self within. And it takes our control to bring that about. It takes our discipline to bring that about. Then we're in union with the great Creator and the body's mind. And we can find our linking through usually meditation, but first through prayer. In our misunderstandings, prayer is something you use because we first want to experience it. And that's a given. It's something we use because we first want to experience it. We have doubt about it, or you want to get something from it, Or even if you already received something for prayer, we want to give it back usually. Sometimes because we're not deserving, we feel, or it's too good, or we doubt that it's going to last. And so we end up, in some sense, giving it back. But prayer is actually the vehicle and the law of cause and effect in its workings. Please understand that. And how which prayer works. Prayer is the vehicle and the law of cause and effect in its workings, and how it works. It's how we can reach the divinity within and finding our union within and all around of that which we're already a part of. You can't reach the Creator in any other way except through this process. We can't reach the Nameless One, the Creator, the universal mind, our source, unless it's through this process. Prayer is not done only through the sound of our voice. It's often expressed within. Most often, most of the time. Oftentimes, and mostly, we gently and very sleepily forget that we're expressing prayer. And we don't even realize that prayer or meditation are close to us at any time. And in other times, we're dramatically becoming aware of it. And through desirous need, we have nothing else to go to because everything else has failed. And we've lost everything inside and outside of ourselves. Prayer doesn't take 45 minutes to work. It only takes maybe 5 seconds to 15 seconds or 20 seconds if you're really used to it and practiced with it. But please understand, it's usually when we've lost everything that we go to it, or we're at our rope's end that we go to it. But it only takes 5 seconds to 15 seconds if you're really used to it and practiced with it. But it takes practice. Becoming conscious that it's a prayer that we're expressing. And during those few or several seconds, you could clear the atmosphere and clear your mind, and then make the prayer and be on your way without saying anything or stopping anything. That is what I call prayer, but it's within you, and you must totally be conscious of the fact that the power, the force, and the energy must manifest in this way. Because if you're not convinced, then you don't know yet, and you haven't found it, and it isn't true yet. So it has to be something coming from your heart and your feeling from the heart, which is the activation of the fire that initiates the prayer. It has to be purposeful and used in your own mind and your own heart and your own feeling. This is what creates the power, the force, and the energy of the prayer to be manifest. Prayer is the only way that you can develop manifestation. It's an exercise for you to learn to use. It has to be purposeful and purposefully used with your own mind and your own heart and your own feelings. This is what creates the power, the force, the energy. It doesn't take having a halo around your head, like I can show people sometimes. And it's not me, it's you that has the ability and has the access to prayer. And it doesn't take someone else's speciality to be able to do it for you. Prayer is a practical thing. It's not only a matter of desire and control of your mind, but having the understanding that nature abhors a vacuum, the old science. Nature abhors a vacuum. It is the law of cause and effect that's integrated within our lives, that's given to us as a tool. It's about learning and stepping out on and finding your way to initiate it. It's so easy for us to say, I want something. I want this, I want that, I want this to happen, I want that to happen. And it's not often what we get when we want it, get what we want in our experiences. Nor is it often that we give thanks and recognition for what we've just gotten. Nor do we often say thanks for what we're getting to get into the immediate or potential future. We don't say thanks for these things. We don't say thanks for the assumption in knowing that we're going to be receiving something. Nor to even mention the living and feeling of the joy of life that comes with the act of recreation of what we're perceiving in the moment. We don't give thanks. And the majority of the prayers of I want never get answered because we're not giving life to the source within. And please understand also that this is going to be a replay, so a lot of information that I'm giving that I feel is important, you'll be able to have it in replay and on the website. Most people don't even know that they're saying prayers or even what they're asking for. When in reality, every word, and I always teach this with every class just about, every word, every thought, and every action is your living prayer. And many people ask for things that they don't even know they're asking for, or even the results of how it affects them or others in your life. And what they really don't want to know, and that they really don't want to know, but they get just the same, even the chaos. How ironic it is that most of our prayers are unconscious, and even the patterns that we set up in our life. Oftentimes, we want to reach for something that we don't even believe we deserve, or we know at the time that it won't be available to us because it hasn't been there for us in our wishful thinkings or in our past, because it hasn't realistically been a part of our reality. And sometimes, oh, I wish I was president. Have you worked for it? Have you gone that route to be president? Have you studied for it? Have you gone through all the exercises that a president would go through in life, the initiations, et cetera, et cetera? So sometimes we ask for things that are a little outlandish. And they aren't available to us because it isn't our place. It hasn't been there for us in our wishful thinkings because it hasn't realistically been a part of our reality. We have to be sure that this really exists of what we desire and that we're really ready for what we're asking for. That's so, so important. Manifestation through prayer is an active thing. Our lives are living prayers, living manifestations. Look at our thinkings. Look at our bodies. Look at our jobs. Look at our lives around us and our finances, etc. Prayer is something that we should be diligently expect to accomplish and realistically expect to accomplish. Prayers can be used to complete many things that we've nothing to do with, that have nothing to do with the spiritual stuff on earth. As an example, prayers can be used for growth and awareness within yourselves, or even for someone else to feel better. Everything that I do in working with people is through prayer, going to that connect place, going to that chained place with my mind and the divinity within, the mind of that godliness, the creator. Or for someone else to understand something, we can use it. And developing towards that understanding. But it's not the way that we expect it. It's made more perfect for the other person in the right way, in the right manner, for what's correct for that person. If we can get to the point that we're convinced of the godliness, the divinity, the universal mind, the nameless one, or whatever you want to call it, and that its existence might possibly be real, then we can even pray for something of our own development. If we're looking to find the light within us, we can become more conscious of it within us. It's a prayer. It's almost like beseechment. We're beseeching God with all of our heart and all of our mind, focused mind. That's a prayer of need. And that's what beseechment is a prayer of need. And here is where the old law comes in, that nature abhors a vacuum, and it will be filled, providing that we have made ourselves available and specific in our need and developing in it. Nor should we expect God, the nameless one, the great creator, to be a mind reader, because God is not. We have to be picky in what we say. And as we're learning, we have to know that it exists, that divinity really exists. We have to know it. And then we have to get rid of our own self-awareness for those few moments, our own thinkings, our own judgments, our own analyzings for those few moments, so that we're not even conscious that we're there. If we can get to that place, then we're in that union of that divinity, of that mind. And we're not thinking. It's about finding that place within us for those few moments out of our life. Just for a moment. If there's a distraction or thinking or whatever, or some whatever happens around you, then start over. Keep starting over until you get to go to that deeper place inside for those few moments. You get to go to something deeper. God is not going to judge you that, oh, I couldn't do it this time, so I'm going to, I can't do it again. It's that conscious divinity within you that's always there, always giving you another opportunity. Right after the one you failed at. That's why we have the failing, so that we can develop it. We wouldn't have the failing otherwise. Imagine there's a source somewhere inside of you that's waiting for you to find it. That's what it's about. And that living mind, an actual mind, then has a chance to do something with the momentary desire that you have. Otherwise, we think that we're doing it, which is impossible. And our prayers won't even get off the ground because we're playing God. And we really don't even know how to be God. Thank God. Then we come to the point of letting go. This is the pitfall which really breaks some good prayers from being answered, that process of letting go. All we have to do is say, thank you, God. or thank you, Creator, or thank you, Universe, or thank you, Nameless One, whatever you want to call it. Just say thank you, and that's letting go. Nothing more. It's too simple. And like I always say, walk away from it. Get out of Dodge and go about your business. That's letting go. If not, if we have a thought before we've let go, or right after we let go, if we have a thought or start analyzing or critiquing it or wondering about it, start over. It takes seconds. Seconds. Start over. Just because you screwed up the first time horribly by thinking about something, God's not going to strike you down with lightning or curse you. I'd be gone a long time ago if that were the case, as many times as I needed to keep repeating and remembering to let go. Start over. God doesn't care. It only wants us to come to it. We're not only given one chance at something, or 3 chances even, or 5 chances. We're given millions of chances continually. That's why they're presented to us. That's why we go through these things. The Creator or God or universe will take care of the rest of that. It just wants us to trust and to know its reality, nothing more. And here's an analogy I usually share. We have a desire within us, and we say, okay, boss, I give it to you. What happens in that process is, in the analogy, is that desire, that need, it goes out somewhere in the universe, and it's captured by a living enzyme. And it's kneaded, it's molded, it's reshaped, reformed, kneaded again, remolded again, made more perfect each time, each gyration it's going through, somewhere in that enzyme. And then it's shot back to the right continent, to the right people, to the right situations, to the right minds of those people. And I guess it all happens maybe even less than 1/10 the speed of light. That's how quickly our prayer is answered and begins to manifestation. And it begins the workings in people's minds. 1/10 the speed of light. God does not meet us halfway. It's meeting us in that moment and even prior to that. That's what happens. And after we've asked for or prayed for something or someone, we usually only get about maybe 3 steps away after expressing the prayer when we let go of it. But our tendency that we have is to look over our shoulder to see if it's coming down yet out of the thin air, or to see if it's happened yet. And the chances are that it won't. And as we do that, because that's not trust, and as we do that, it kind of fizzles out or loses some of its life and power and force and energy. And the chances are that it's fizzled in our mind, literally, because we're disappointed. Even unconsciously or subconsciously, we're disappointed. Or we set the new or old pattern, that's our prayers, that the pattern is that they don't get answered. Somewhere in the back of our mind, we believe that because we've developed that pattern within us, as subconscious as it is. And we just accept that our prayers don't get answered to some degree. And that's like a stickler for us in our lives. We've learned to accept that. And then we don't believe in ourselves subconsciously, even though we try to admit to ourselves that we do. But there's that little stickler in the back of our mind, somewhere hiding, that we don't believe in ourselves, and we have our doubt. And how can we convince the old man or old woman upstairs, if that's true, that we have our doubt of what we really want? The Creator never does just half a job. And the Creator really never meets us halfway. And we can pray for someone and let them know, watch out, that it's coming true and it's coming their way. And as we do this, don't bother to analyze or critique or think anything about the prayers answered. Just accept it and let it go. Trust it. Thank you. Any questions, please? Anything I can try to answer real briefly. Did that make sense to everyone? Yes, please.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Is it good? Like, I like to pray for rain. And so I go out to my spot outside.
Yes.
And I smell the moisture in the air. And
yes.
Then I feel the drops coming down on the dry.
Or you're the one who gave us rain the other day.
Well, I've been told, no, but I pray for it a lot. But that's probably my insecurity about it's not going to happen. But adding,
it's our sabotage.
So, but does adding like smelling the rain and feeling the rain and tropping around in the mud, does that all add to the prayer?
Oh, it sure in the heck does, because you're living it.
Oh.
You're living it. But next time, please take the cloud away from my house and put it over yours.
All right. I'll try. Thank you, Mark.
You know, it's funny because, and I've told the story before, it's just applicable though. I prayed that it wouldn't rain one time, and I just wanted to enjoy myself outside, and I watched myself ahead of time going outside of the house. This was years ago in the order, and everyone else is staying in because it was raining, and I just kept giving thanks to God for presenting this day to me, this beautiful, sunny, lovely day, and I believed it with all my heart. And I walked out, I didn't get wet, got on the bus, it rained all around me, got off the bus, it rained all around me, but it didn't rain on me. Came home later that day around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening and walked in, it was still raining, but I wasn't wet, and people just looked at me. They couldn't understand how I wasn't wet, and it was just pouring all day. And so one of the many stories about that. So, but you know, as long as our prayer is not going to hurt someone else or affect their life or their livelihood or their thinking in a destructive way, that's what matters. But even bad people, what we call bad people, get their prayers answered because they know inside. They know what they want and what they're here to experience inside. Even the bad people that we call bad, they're going to get their prayers answers too. Unless it injures a lot of people, then oftentimes, if it's not written in the soul experience, oftentimes it will be taken care of for us by the angelics and other beings to guide, direct, and protect us from others or situations, most often. Please, Sue, there's something bubbling. Turn on your mic.
I'm ready for the whole class on prayer. That was very beautiful. Yeah.
Did everyone please give me a shout out of hashtag or pound sign yes or you rock, one word, please. I appreciate that. And there will also hold a question for a second. There will be a replay on this, and if you listen to the replay, type hashtag replay so I know that you saw it on the replay. Please, please. Yes, Sue, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, I'm just trying to figure out where to get to write hashtag.
Oh, in the dialogue back in the messages down below. Is there a white strip there?
I don't know.
The hashtag you rock only works in Facebook and YouTube.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Twitter as well. I mean, but it works more in the social media, not necessarily in a Zoom meeting. But once I post the replay, then
Put it
yes,
there.
please do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Apprentice, it is a great enzyme. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Samantha, did this make sense? Or was it comprehensible by everyone?
Yes, Mark. No, I thought it was fantastic. I did have a question.
Please.
When you were talking about, you're saying a prayer, but then you're looking over your shoulder to see if it really happened.
Yes.
I have a tendency to do that. And I guess that's the lack of faith, a lack of trust.
And sometimes a lack of faith, lack of trust, or impatience.
Okay.
And that can possibly be too. And I'm notorious for this. And I say, okay, where is it? Come on, let's step it up a little bit.
I feel like for me, it's more lack of trust than patience. So is that just something that I just need to work on and build up the trust?
It's learning that we really do trust, but we were taught otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
There's many wisdoms, and we learn whatever wisdom we're here to experience continually.
Okay.
Constantly. And one wisdom is to don't trust because of all of our life's experiences that were developed.
Yeah.
And or another wisdom is to have a revealing within ourselves that we can trust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking baby steps in that.
Mm-hmm.
And those baby steps turn into manifestation, fantastic ones.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Mike, please.
Yeah, an hour, 2 hours ago, actually over the last couple days, yesterday, because of all this isolation that everybody's going through, I remembered again how everybody struggles in life, not just because of the coronavirus, but just because we're human.
We're human because it's the mass mind that we've been brought up with for generations after generations after generations.
Definitely. And what you were just talking about was I'm realizing how I isolate myself, and always have since before I could talk. So today I was hiking through the woods an hour or so ago, and I started praying, God, help me be a more giving person. Help me be a more loving person. And right after I realized, if I want love, I have to be a more loving person first, and then the world will come.
And added to that, and that's right on, but more loving person, we're learning to love ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Then the other happens in the world
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I generally have been praying, God, just let me be okay with whatever happens. And I always say, because I go to AA meetings, I don't know who God is. I'm not that smart, but I know that life is an expression of God's
I know his
creation.
middle name. No, I'm kidding.
It isn't Mike.
Yes, it is.
I believe in life as a higher power because life is an expression of God's creation. And if
It's
I
not a
stay,
higher power. It's an internal power.
yeah, well, I'm part of life. God, I kind of think God is in everybody, and it's my wayward thinking and feelings that prevent me from realizing that. And
You
so,
are Mon, M-O-N. Everyone here is Mon, which means one.
okay.
And it's one in God. Literally, one in God. You are a cell within the mind of God. You are a Mon.
Well, I've been praying for me to be able to realize that and uh, love it. And so, thank you. And that part about letting go, too. That's a very important point, I think, for me.
It's everything.
Yeah. So thank you, Mark.
It's my honor, my pleasure. And it's everything for the release of the prayer. It has to be. Has to be. Please, any final questions?
Kathy had a question.
Kathy?
My question, is that like monad? How is monad different from moan?
Similar. Yes. Yes. It's the oneness in God, and it's actually the living God. We are of it. And we are it. And it's awakening to that, as sacrilegious or heretical as it may sound.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Please.
So it's not a bad thing to tell people you pray for them?
No. God, no. God, no.
I don't know why I always thought it was. Like it wouldn't come true or something if you told them. It's like, you know, when you blow out your candle and you make a wish, don't tell.
But when I pray for people, it's generally through requests, but there's also people that I pray for that never know that I do. And I won't tell them.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam. Please, if you want, even after it's posted, if you want to share this with other people, that's fine too. Thank you so much for being here. Blessings to you. Enjoy, and looking forward to future things.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks,
It was
everyone.
great, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.